I'm Simone Olson, co-founder of Amazing Kids. These conversations are designed to elevate parent voices and student voices and provide grounded, lived experience insight to families walking a similar path. My co-founder, Dr. Jennifer Hensley, a pediatric nurse practitioner with more than 20 years of experience supporting children with autism and leading multidisciplinary diagnostic teams, both in traditional systems and through evidence-based virtual models, will guide our conversation today with our guests, Gavin and Kim, who have generously agreed to share their journey from early concerns to diagnosis, therapies, growth, and perspective. Just want to tell you a little bit about Gavin. He's a 21-year-old from Northern Virginia who graduated from high school in 2023. He served a 2-year mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in the Washington, D.C. area. He earned his Boy Scouts of America Eagle Scout rank in 2022 when he created a sensory room for the developmental pediatrics department at the Fort Belvoir Military Hospital in Virginia, a first of its kind in any military hospital in the world. Gavin is currently a full-time college student attending Brigham Young University, Idaho, studying computer science and enjoys anything math and science related, bowling, watching movies, playing video games, spending time with his family, and living on his own. He received his autism diagnosis in 2010 at the age of 5 years old. And a really fun fact about Gavin, he loves Just Dance, and he has since 3 years old. He's memorized all the dances and has gone viral on TikTok many times. In fact, one of his videos has over 10 million views. Kim, his mom, married her high school sweetheart almost 32 years ago and now has 4 adult children. Her husband is a retired military service member. Kim, thank you so much to you and your husband and your whole family for your years of service. She's a former music teacher who now owns 2 businesses, a real estate investment firm, and a practice management company that helps doctors and dentists with services they would like to outsource. She believes that people with autism are amazing and do incredible things, which is exactly how we feel at Amazing Kids. Welcome, Gavin and Kim. Thank you for spending your time with us today. Dr. Hensley, I will hand it over to you to get our conversation started.
Thank you. So I want to thank everybody for coming today, especially our guest speakers, Gavin and Kim. If you're here, you're probably carrying questions, uncertainty, and maybe even a little quiet worry. Our goal today is to help you understand what a good diagnosis actually does for a child and a family through an amazing testimony today. Autism doesn't mean the end of possibility. It's really the beginning of momentum. Before we begin again, I just want to thank you all for being here in this space today, showing up for your loved ones or your patients with autism. Families come into this space carrying a lot of emotions. Some feel relief finally having answers, and some may feel a little overwhelmed or unsure of what comes next. Many feel all of the above, and whatever you're bringing today, it's welcome. This is about understanding how a person's brain with autism works, because it's an amazing brain, and learning how to support them in ways that actually help and helping you feel more confident to do that. And autism is not something that just happened. It's the way a person experiences the world, and it's a beautiful difference. And when we understand that, everything changes. How we respond, how we teach, and how we really connect. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm Dr. Jennifer Hensley, and I've spent over 20 years caring for children in the last decade, walking closely, having the privilege to walk closely with families of children with autism. And what I've learned is this: parents and kids don't need more judgment or pressure. They need clarity, compassion, and a team. And today is really about teamwork. You and your child, you and your child's providers, and you and yourself. And as we go through this seminar, you don't need to take notes or remember everything, but if something resonates, notice it. If something doesn't, you can kind of let it go. But most importantly, I want you to hear this before we go any further. Your child is already amazing. Skills can be taught and understanding can grow, and you're not alone. So let's start by chatting with an amazing young adult, Gavin, who is now the coach of his own amazing team, and his mother, Kim, who has been coaching his team his entire life until now. That Gavin has taken the reins and moved across the country. So Gavin and Kim, thank you so much for joining today.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. We're glad to be here.
Who wants to start with my first question, Gavin or Kim?
Let's go with Gavin.
Sure, I can go.
Perfect. So Gavin, when was the first time? Well, actually, I'm going to start off with a better question here. Tell us about college. What's it like being on your own?
So far it's been pretty good. Like it feels like a home away from home. And what's great about the school I'm at, BYUI, is that some of the missionaries I was with when I was a missionary are students in this school. So I see them every now and again. It's like a fun reunion.
Oh, that's fabulous. Excellent. So remind me again, when you did your missionary work, did you actually go to your college now to do some of the work, or did you do it in Virginia, or how did that work for you?
I did, but I'm back in Virginia because I was a service missionary, so I was able to serve from home. And so one of the things I did there was volunteering at a food pantry where I met some really great people there.
Excellent. And was it your plan when you started your mission to end up being a college student there?
I honestly didn't really plan that far ahead. Like it was still like 2 years away from when I started it.
Wow, so exciting. I'm so proud of you. So, Kim, how are you doing with Gavin moving across? You said 2,500 miles across the country.
Uh, um, we're doing really great. And I know it's because he's happy and because he's successful. That we feel real comfortable, even though it is so far away. Just seeing how much he has already done on his own. He moved out there in January, so it's been just about 2 months, and everything that he's had to manage on his own, he's done a great job, and he's got wonderful support from the school out there. So that's also very helpful. Yeah. That's part of his new team, right? His new team members,
Right.
college support.
So tell us, we're going to kind of step back a little bit in time, Kim. And
Yeah.
when did I start taking care of you, Gavin? Do you remember how old you were?
I think I was like 8 or 9.
Right. So
Yeah.
a long time ago, and you're 21. What did you do for your 21st birthday?
Well, at the beginning of my birthday, we actually went to the temple for an endowment session, and later that night we also went to Dave and Buster's.
Yeah,
Nice.
one of your favorite places, right?
Yeah, it's really fun.
What do you like to do at Dave and Buster's?
I like arcades in general. Like it's just fun.
Awesome. Very good. So, Kim, when we first met, when Gavin was 8 or 9, what were some of those early discussions that you remember that we had?
I remember we were having some issues with his IEP with the school. We had recently transferred to Virginia from Hawaii, where he was diagnosed in Hawaii and was getting ABA services there. And he was on an IEP and all that. We transferred to Virginia, and we were having some issues with the IEP transfers, as well as some additional help that he was needing with speech therapy. Although he had speech therapy in school in Hawaii, there was some expressive language issues that he was having, and we were needing speech therapy outside of what the school had given him, because he had graduated out of the school's speech therapy, right? He could talk, that was fine, but some of his processing and his expressive language wasn't really there, and the schools weren't helping with that, so we had to go outside. So you were really helpful in identifying that for us, as well as the fact that there was probably some medication that we could put Gavin on that could help with some of the issues that he was having at 8, 9, and 10. And you had told us at the time, because we were a little concerned about that, but you had told us the goal is not to keep him on it the rest of his life. The goal is to be able to help him learn to manage everything so that he can graduate off of that and not have to have those things as his brain develops. So we just really trusted in that. And it's exactly what happened. He was on those medications for a while. And then eventually, as he grew older and was able to manage some behaviors and learned some coping strategies and things that happen as people mature just normally, right? That medication wasn't needed anymore. And he was able to come off of that and be super productive and everything. So, yeah.
Excellent. And Gavin, what do you remember? Do you remember when you were diagnosed with autism? I know you have an amazing memory.
No.
Okay. What's your early memories of the diagnosis, or when did you first learn about your diagnosis of autism? Can you share that experience?
Like I can't really remember exactly how I found out. Like I think on one of the ways I realized I was and I saw the world a bit differently was through things like rough textures. Like those awful paper plates that are really rough, especially on the bottoms where it just feels like sandpaper.
Oh yeah,
I,
I know those.
yeah,
Yep.
just thinking about that texture is making me cringe.
You stay away from those, right? Hopefully nobody's giving you paper plates in college. Well, they might be.
Anyway, I just really do not like rough textures on things that shouldn't be rough, and no one else seemed to have a problem with that. So I was like, how are you not all uncomfortable about this?
Yeah. Yeah. So and who do you mean by no one else? Like your family members, everybody's holding their plate of food and just ready to eat, and you just couldn't even get to the point where you were eating because the plate was too uncomfortable.
Yeah, basically that.
Yeah. Do you remember how old you were?
Now,
No. Okay. And so what would you say is one of the biggest challenges you faced growing up because of your autism?
honestly, I don't really think I can't really think of any challenges I had because of it. Like, I was bullied back in school, but not because of having autism.
Okay. And good for you, Mom. Good pat on the back, Mom, with that answer, right?
Absolutely.
Super mom, and you have other kiddos. So Gavin is the baby of the family, although clearly he's not a baby anymore, right, Gavin?
Okay.
Yeah.
All grown up. Kim, can you share about Gavin's first realization of when he understood autism? I'm sure you remember that day well.
Yes, he was about 9 years old, and he was having some difficulties with some of the kids at school. And we talked with him about the fact that his brain was different than most people's, and that he is very, very smart. And we explained that he had something called autism, which just means trying to explain it to a 9-year-old where he can explain it to somebody else. So that's where we started, right? We didn't give him this great big description. We just said, your brain is amazing, and it thinks differently than other people, and it's really good at math and science and video games. And so we said, because he started to say, he'd go up to people and he'd say, "Hi, my name's Gavin and I have autism." That's when he was like 9 years old. That's how he would introduce himself. Like people would. And we didn't stop him from doing that. Gavin, it's great. You don't have to be embarrassed. That's just the way that your brain was, right?
How awesome is that?
I know, but just thinking about that is making me cringe, okay?
Well, no, I know. You don't like talking about things from when you were little, but I'm your mom, and we love talking about things when you were little. So you'll have to hear it. Anyway, so he would introduce himself that way. And so we told him, we said, that's great. You just have to be ready if someone says, "Well, what's autism?" Especially your friends. Like, well, what does that mean? We wanted him to be able to explain that to people. And so we just helped him learn to say, it just means that I see the world a little differently, and my brain's really amazing because I'm really good at math and science.
And Gavin, I'm sure I've said this to you. I wish my brain could go a fraction of where your brain can go. Like this is your gift, right? It's your gift. But the paper plates, like that's hard, right? So there's things that you've had to overcome during these years too. But your mom has always been amazing about the superpower that you really and truly have. So I'm so happy that you're here today. I know this is hard to talk about and even think about because it was just so long ago. When Mom brought up this discussion, do you remember who was in the room when you had that talk with her?
I honestly have no memory of that discussion.
Okay. All right. Good. Nothing wrong with that. Sure.
Miss Christina and Miss Gabriella were there, Gavin. Those are Gavin's ABA helpers, and supervisors. And so they helped us put together a response to help work with Gavin so that he could explain that.
And thank you for sharing that and talking about this. This is kind of a hard space for families. I get that question a lot of when should I tell my child that they have autism? I'm like, well, first of all, autism is amazing. So tell them as quickly as you can. And second of all, they have to be empowered with that information because now Gavin knows why those plates were so hard for him because before it didn't really make sense, Gavin, right?
Right.
And I'm going to ask you a question, Gavin. Can you define autism or define your autism?
Like I can't really define what it's really like for me because I don't really see myself as being that different.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Yeah. So the medical, and I'll kind of break it down. I know we've talked about this before. So autism is socially, you're struggling to interact with people and the world around you. And you like things, you need things a certain way, or the world can feel really overwhelming. The great thing about autism, which you have proven, is that you can overcome a lot of these clinical core characteristics. So, as a 21-year-old away at college, taking care of yourself, you've overcome a lot of those core characteristics. Like you have proven that autism is your superpower because at the end of the day, you're still left with what? Your amazing brain, right? And,
Right.
and you've helped calm down all of those other overwhelming feelings. So who would you say has been, I know mom had mentioned your ABA therapist, who would you say has been your biggest partner for your team? And maybe that's a question for mom first as growing up, and now that you are off at school, do you still feel like you have partners? Or however you guys want to answer that is fine with me.
Like I'd say the people that help me the most, and like I would agree that it would be my ABA therapists.
Excellent. And are you still doing ABA?
No, but I do still keep contact with them to this day.
Isn't that
Mhm.
wonderful? Excellent. And mom, do you have the same thoughts?
I do, but I would also say you, Dr. Hensley, were a major key partner in Gavin's growth. You were super supportive and you helped me with when we would come in for his appointments, just for his checkups and things, and the way that you talked to him and talked directly to him and were so positive, it helped me be able to look at the positive side of this and not just the everyday grind that sometimes, that often parents get into, but really gave me hope when we were talking about, when he was in 5th grade and 6th grade, and you're talking about, Gavin, one day you're going to be driving. One day you're going to have a job. One day you're going to go to school. And I thought, is he really going to do that? I don't know, because at the time, I'll be honest with you, my husband and I, we just weren't sure what this was going to look like for him and for us, but mainly for him, like what quality of life. And had you told me that he would be in a space where he could handle being behind a car and not having that overwhelming feeling, or let alone move 2,500 miles across the country to be on his own. If you would have told me that when he was 9 or 10, I would have said there is no way. I don't know that I could let him do any of that, right? So as much of this as it's I to be able to let go, right? And to let him try things and not be afraid of him failing. I mean, you're always that way with our typical children, right? Our typical brained kiddos. But I think I'm more hypersensitive to that with Gavin, because it seems like every time he turns around, there's always a challenge in his life because of that autism. But I've learned he has overcome so much. He can overcome anything. So go try, just go give it a shot. Right, Gavin?
Right.
Yeah. Because you never know, you could be successful. And Dr. Hensley, you helped us realize that through our appointments with you. And I'm just so grateful for that perspective.
Thank you. And I know it's always a hard conversation as you come into the appointment and you're so excited to tell me all the amazing things he's doing. And then my next thought is, great, what are we going to do next? Right?
Yeah.
Like, what's our next step? Because there should be no limits on somebody with autism. Actually, the door is wide open beyond the average person. And so how do you as a family get rid of those limits that society sometimes places on people with autism?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And you are an amazing example. Gavin has no limits. Gavin's going to do whatever he wants to do in this world, and he's going to do it better than the average person because he has autism. It's so exciting. Gavin, talk to us a little bit about driving. How has that been for you?
And mixed. Like I'm fine with driving as long as there's no one else in the car.
Okay. Tell me about that.
I do not want to get into that because of an incident that happened like 2 years ago.
Okay, perfect. So, but otherwise, you get behind the wheel, you feel confident where you're going. Do you have a car at school? I know a lot of freshmen can't keep cars there, but maybe
I
next.
don't, but one of my roommates does.
Okay, excellent. So, did you pick your roommate before you went to school, or did you just do a random match?
It was completely random.
It was completely random. Is it working out well? I know the first roommate situation sometimes doesn't go well, but
And my roommates are actually really great.
okay, excellent. Wonderful. And have you had the opportunity to meet their families, or has your family had the opportunity to come visit you?
Well, I did get to meet their families when I was just moving in.
Okay, excellent. So tell me, Gavin, what was the conversation like when you decided that you were ready to go to college and to move across the country? Was that you saying, "Hey, mom, dad, guess what I'm ready for?" Or was this kind of a dialogue, or how did this go?
And we were on a vacation in Utah last year, and I don't really remember exactly how it played out. I just like the first thing I remember in that situation was applying for BYUI. I don't really remember how we got to that point, but I remember putting in the application.
And do you remember when you got your acceptance?
Yep.
Can you describe that feeling?
With BYUI, and they have an acceptance rate of like a 95 or 97%, if I remember correctly. So I shouldn't really be that surprised, but I'm still thankful that I got in.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's so exciting. So tell us about your college experience. I know we talked about, Simone had mentioned what you were studying, but tell us about your classes, your professors, your extracurriculars, anything you want to share.
So I'm taking 3 technology classes on dynamic web fundamentals and technical teamwork and freshman discovery project. And I'm also taking a BYUI experience class, which is mandatory if it's your first semester in person. And I'm taking 2 classes online, those being English and religion.
Excellent. So are you having to get any additional support at school?
Well, I did have a Zoom meeting with my English teacher yesterday, and just to finalize the topic of an essay I have to write.
Excellent. So did you
But he doesn't have any accommodations for like extra time or any special things. He's just a regular college kid.
That's excellent. Congratulations.
Thanks.
And it sounds like you're doing good advocating for yourself. Do you feel like that's become easier for you as you've gotten older?
Yes. With that being said, I am not looking forward to some of the assignments coming up, like the aforementioned English assignment, because I have to write 5 to 7 pages on it.
Oh, that's a lot. Is that something that you do throughout the semester? Like you build on it, or is it just all of a sudden do one day?
And you can do it weeks in advance, which that helps, but it's still way more than I'm comfortable with.
Yeah. It probably feels pretty overwhelming. Did you do papers that long in high school?
Yes.
You did. Yeah.
Yes, and it is not, and those are very bad memories.
Well, especially if you're a science and tech guy, I would say that's a very natural, normal feeling for anybody who's a STEM person versus an English person, right?
Right.
And with autism, his autism, communication and being able to go into detail and express your feelings has always been difficult for Gavin. He's a very like short answer, this is what it is and let's go on. And English, you're having to explain why and how, and he's like, I've already told you, like, why do I have to go into all this detail, So I remember when he was younger, even in math class, when he was in late elementary school, they're teaching the kids how to show your work for math problems. He would get so angry and he would get upset at the teachers often because he would just give them the answer because his brain could work that fast. He could look at a division or a multiplication or a word problem and he wouldn't have to write out anything. He'd just give them the answer. And they're like, well, how did you get there? And he like, does it matter? I just told you what the answer was. And they would make him write out the answers, which we all know why. but he just saw it as extra work.
Yeah.
And it was very frustrating for him. So, yeah.
And
Gavin,
I
you're good. That's a positive thing, man, that your brain is that fast that you can just see the answers and know them and not have to spend time like everybody else.
Yeah, but I mean, like, getting mad at the teachers for doing something I was supposed to do, like, that's just not okay.
Well, that's part of growing up and learning how to communicate, right? And learning those social roles that Dr. Hensley was talking about. And your teachers understood. I mean, they understood because of your autism and different things that aspect of being able to think that fast was super talent for you, right? But that also being able to understand socially that we have to kind of obey those rules. So, yeah.
Right.
Gavin, I think you just showed us how amazing you are, right? So here, your response to mom, although it's overwhelming to hear, you're upset because you didn't do what you should have done at that stage in your life as the teacher asked you, right? Where mom was showing us, like explaining to us, and I've heard that from quite a few patients, like, if I could do a math problem without writing out the work, and my brain can't do that, I have to write out the work or I won't get the right answer. What a gift. What a talent. Right? Mm-hmm. And then someone with autism who has social delays and can struggle understanding their social environment and the people they're connected with, it just doesn't make sense to them why these teachers are expecting so much additional work out of you when you have the answer, right? Like that's common sense, right?
Right.
But now you're 21, fast forward, and you can still get the answer, but you're doing the work because you know the teacher needs that because the teacher's grading all your work, not just the answer. Because as kids are in your grade now, you can get the answer wrong, but if all the work is right, you can still get a really high grade on your test because it's not the answer, it's the process. So you've just proven how amazing you are that you've overcome so many of those core autism symptoms of not being able to understand that social environment. So exciting.
Thanks.
So is there a time that you feel, Gavin, that people don't expect things of you when you can meet that expectation because of the autism? Is there ever a time where you feel like you're not being held accountable like somebody else your age?
I don't think I've ever had that.
Okay, excellent. How about you, Mom? Do you still see that, or have you never really seen that either?
We did see it actually when he was younger. Most of the time, it's when they're younger and they haven't learned to advocate for themselves yet. So you're having to advocate for them. One of the big fears that I had for him when he was younger was leaving elementary school and going to middle school. I was concerned that he hadn't grown up with these kids, right, since kindergarten because we're military and we're moving. And so he'd been with these students for about 2 years before heading to middle school. And I really wanted him to have some people in his corner when he went to middle school. Some kids his age who, if there was things, that there were kids that could come to his aid and stand up next to him and be like, you leave Gavin alone. So I knew that those kids needed to understand what autism was and why Gavin was the way he was, as great as he was. Like, they needed to understand that going into middle school so that they could help other kids. So we put together a presentation that Gavin gave to the entire 5th grade of his elementary school about what autism was, what it is like to live with autism, and what autism is like for him. And he made this presentation. It was a PowerPoint, and Gavin loves PowerPoints, and he communicates lots of times through PowerPoints. He makes, even now to this day, he makes all kinds of random PowerPoints, right, Gavin? I mean, we could go into the hundreds that you have. But anyway.
Yeah, so much so to the point where I'm actually starting to lose storage.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for real. Like, he communicates through PowerPoints. So he made a PowerPoint about all of this and made this presentation in front of all of these kids and talked about how we're each a piece of the puzzle and gave each kid a puzzle piece to take with them to remember that everybody, when you put those pieces together in that classroom, went back to the classrooms and they each took their puzzle piece and put their puzzles together as a class, that everybody has a role to play. And everybody has their own puzzle piece that they can contribute to their class. And so when he when they did fifth grade graduation, sorry, and they called his name, the entire fifth grade class stood and cheered. And you could look at parents were like, what is going on, right? But they cheered and cheered for Gavin as he walked across that stage. And I knew then, I was like, oh, he's got some people in his corner in middle school. Okay. And it worked, and it was great. And we did the same presentation again when he was 12, when he moved from some within church, from the children's kind of Sunday school class to the youth group, to help the youth understand who Gavin was and how amazing he really was. He did the same presentation, and leaders and some of the older youth came to us and just said, I am so thankful to know more about this and how we can help Gavin. And it was just truly amazing to see how those transitions, that PowerPoint and that presentation empowered Gavin, but how it also helped people around him to understand more, not only about Gavin, but also just other people with autism, and how to search them out and how to find them. Like if they're sitting by themselves, or if they're really short with them, it's not because they're trying to be mean. It's just because they have social things are difficult for them, or maybe they're overstimulated because there's so many kids in the cafeteria, or whatever the situation is.
So Gavin, you were taking over your team little by little, starting with these informational sessions for your classmates. Can you share what your feelings were, your experiences during that time, Gavin?
It was really great having all these people by my side. It was really great. But then middle school came, and that was probably the worst 3 years of my life.
Yeah. Tell us about that. I would say probably most middle school students say that it's really hard time. Why was that hard for you?
And basically, and just the students. Like, I feel like middle school should be required to have a sign that says "Danger, toxic children."
I think. Well, let's refine this a second, Gavin. I think the issue was that there was one child in particular who was also on the autism spectrum, where the two of them were having a difficult time.
I don't remember him having autism, but we just could not stand each other.
Yeah, so it was just one other kiddo. He was also on the autism spectrum, Gavin. And yeah, but other than that, you did have a good time in middle school, and you made some really great friends, like your very best friend, Kyla, right?
Right.
Yeah. Some friends that you're still in contact with. And Nathan, right? You and Nathan and Kyla. Yep.
Yeah. Although, to be honest with me and Nathan, we didn't really start off on the best foot, but eventually we became best friends.
That's right. That's right.
So, Gavin, what does it mean to you to be a best friend?
And being there for each other. Other people can see my friend Nathan as being a bit crazy, but I think he's a really great friend.
Excellent. And how do you know he's your friend? What are some things that he does to show you that he's your friend?
And we have the same interests. We both useless knowledge. We watch the same YouTube channels, and we just have a lot of fun with each other.
And where is Nathan now?
I think he's back in Virginia.
You guys stay connected through games or talking or FaceTime?
Through texting.
Through texting. Excellent. Excellent. So tell us some things, Gavin, that you're doing independently now.
When it comes to dinner here in BYUI, I go to Chick-fil-A a few times a week.
Mm-hmm.
Which beforehand I almost never went to, but because there's not a McDonald's on campus, I just have to improvise.
McDonald's is your favorite, right?
Right.
And do you make your own dinners the other nights?
Every now and again, I make chicken wings every other Sunday.
Excellent. Very good. So you're getting your own food, whether you're cooking or going to Chick-fil-A or chicken wings. How about laundry and cleaning and all that stuff? Are you able to do that now independently?
Yes.
Excellent.
We actually have a clean check in my apartment on Wednesday.
Oh, very nice. So do you live on campus or are you off campus?
I think it's off campus, but it's only a 5-minute walk towards some of the buildings there, so I'm not entirely sure.
It's true. It's an apartment complex that's off campus because they don't have dorms at his university.
Wow.
Yeah.
So totally separate from the university, or are they owned by the university? Separate.
No.
Nice. Independent living for sure.
Yes. Yes.
Excellent.
Yeah. So one thing we knew sending Gavin to college was that he would probably be, and it would be a better experience for him if he had his own room opposed to sharing a room. Like apartments, sometimes they'll have like dorm room style where there'll be two people in a room, things like that. But we knew that he would probably do better if he had his own space where he could come back and kind of decompress and not have to share that space with someone. And so we found an apartment complex where he could have his own room. And some apartment complexes had 6 guys living in the apartment, and some had 4. So we opted to go with the 4. So there was going to be just less stimulation going on, right? So that's, I think, been super helpful. So understanding as your child gets to become an adult, like what are still some of the things that are going to help them be successful. Prior to him leaving for school, we worked on going to the grocery store and having him do his own grocery shopping and using a debit card and paying for it. We did that like years in advance, right? Over the summer before he went to school, we got him the Walmart app so that he could practice ordering groceries from Walmart and having it delivered to our house. We did that for 6 months before he went out on his own. So that's how he gets his groceries now. He just goes on the Walmart app and orders them whatever he needs, and they deliver it to his apartment, and then he makes his own food, or, like he said, a couple times he'll go up to campus to Chick-fil-A and things like that. So he's become very independent that way. But it's taken practice. It's not like you can just throw that at them. And sometimes it's years, like laundry. He does his own laundry, right, Gavin?
Right.
Yeah. And so for years, probably since about his freshman year, we've worked with him, his freshman year of high school, worked with him on how to do laundry and how to clean. Like it's a little bit at a time, right? So
I'm so proud of you guys. What an amazing team you are.
Thanks.
Gavin, how often are you calling home to mom?
And basically every Sunday evening because of Come Follow Me.
I love it. And what's Come Follow Me?
It's basically a time in the evening every Sunday where everyone in the family calls in and checks to see how everyone's doing, and we have a church lesson and we see how everyone's week is going to go.
I love that. I love that. Gavin, what would you say to parents who are early in their child's journey? Maybe their child hasn't gotten a diagnosis, or parents are afraid of a diagnosis. Do you have any advice for those parents?
What would be a good one? I would say that it's not the end of the world. It's just a start of a lot of possibilities.
I love it.
Love that.
I love it. Mom, how about you?
Gavin was diagnosed at 5 and had shown signs much earlier. We really thought the issue was just speech, like a speech delay. And then at 3, 2.5 to 3, a speech delay. And then as that was getting taken care of with speech therapy, there were developmental things that he wasn't hitting milestones developmentally in some of the other areas as he was getting older. And I remember getting the diagnosis and being so thankful to have a diagnosis so that we could then figure out, okay, now what do we do to help this child so that his quality of life can be the best as possible. And that was our attitude going into it. Just what do we have to do? We didn't know what quality of life was going to look like for him. We didn't know where on the spectrum he was fitting, how fast developmentally, what kind of successes we were going to see, those kind of things. And so we just threw everything at him that we could. But we kept it consistent. He was in ABA therapy for 13 years. 13 years of 20 hours a week of ABA therapy. And I'm so thankful for that because that helped us and it helped Gavin. Because once we'd overcome something, there would be a new transition. Elementary school to middle school to high school, COVID, online learning, which I'm so thankful for COVID because it helped us learn that Gavin is an amazing online learner. And that is really where he is most effective. So where most kids that was a massive struggle, it was a blessing for us because we ended up pulling him out of his public school and putting him in an online school for his junior and senior year so that he could finish out the way. And he finished early because he could go at his own speed. And he didn't have all this other distraction happening. I remember in high school, he'd get frustrated with the other kids' behavioral issues that they'd have in class and different things. He was in a lot of general ed classes. And he just couldn't understand why kids wouldn't do their work or weren't going to be quiet, like they couldn't follow the rules. There were some distractions with the air conditioning system and going at the speed of the class for some of his classes, like his math and science classes, was really hard for him because in technology classes, because he could do it so fast. So when we figured that out and put him in a learning style that worked for him, I mean, one of his online science classes and his online learning technology class, he did in 6 weeks. And it takes other kids 5 to 6 months to do those classes. He did it in 6 weeks because he could move at his own pace. And then his English class, because that's a struggle for him, he did take 5 months to finish because that's just the way it is, right?
Yeah, those classes were just horrible.
I know, those were super hard, buddy, but you did it. You did it. So I would say that when you get a diagnosis, it can be scary because that you're introduced to a world that you never thought that you would be a part of. But like Dr. Hensley talks about, when you can put the right people on your team and on your child's team, the amount of success that you can have, you won't even believe. Like I mentioned earlier, college was never in our thoughts for Gavin. In fact, before he started his mission, when he graduated from high school, we had other plans. We were like, he'll go on his mission and then he's going to go do this instead. And while he was on his mission and serving, we saw some growth in him and we thought, and he came to us and he's like, I think I might want to go to college. And we were like, that was not in our plan a year ago, but okay, let's talk about it. And then it took a lot of, research on our part and trusting in Gavin and his decision and his desire to want to go do those things. And again, we just stepped aside and said, okay, go try. And he's succeeding. And that's the way it's been our whole life. It's like, let's try this and see what we can do to help you succeed. And he's done it.
Thank you, Gavin and Kim. This is just so uplifting and it's so incredible to hear, Gavin, all your successes and just what an incredible kid you are. Conversations, and I should say an adult, you're not really a kid. So conversations like this just remind families that while autism can feel overwhelming, it can just be such a positive and what a wonderful experience. So I think with that said, we're going to open the live Q&A now, and so people are welcome to turn on your cameras and ask Gavin, Kim, or Dr. Hensley a question directly.
Hello. So I just graduated college, and I know that social life is a very big part of that experience. So what do you do for fun? Are you in any clubs, or do you hope to be in any clubs or sports, or what does extra activities look like for you?
Well, over a month ago, my missionary friends and I decided to go bowling just for fun. And I think a week or two after that, we had another activity at one of my friends' place, who was also a missionary with us, where we played some Mario Karts. And a couple of weeks after that, at that same place, we also had a movie night, which if you're wondering, it was Into the Spider-Verse.
So, Savannah, that's a really great question, because as a parent, that's something that I've had to change my perspective on. Like, Gavin's desire and need for social activity is not the same as my other 3 typical brained kiddos. And his way of socializing oftentimes is through texting some of his friends, or oftentimes he just doesn't even care. He's like, I don't really want to go to that activity or whatever. And so helping him learn that it's fine if you don't want to go do everything at the college like your siblings might have done, right? But let's find at least 1 or 2 things a week where you want to go and you need to go do something, right? To be with other people. And that, as a parent, that's been something that's been difficult for me, because I'll ask him, well, what's your plan for Friday night? What's your plan for Saturday night? And it'll be affecting. But yeah, so anyway, I hope that answers your question too.
Yes, great. Thank you.
Any other questions out there? Because I have more questions I could ask, but
I don't really have a
Audience.
question, but
Go
sorry.
for it.
I was just going to say I feel the same way about rough paper plates, so you're not alone in that. They're awful.
Yeah, they feel like sandpaper.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Gavin, my question's for you. I have met several people who do have autism and they do love video games just like you. And this kind of speaks to what your mom was sharing just a moment ago, but how do you stop playing video games? And do you like get upset about it, or are you excited about kind of stepping outside your comfort zone when you do make plans for Friday nights?
I honestly don't know about that last one, but when I stop playing video games, it's just whenever I'm just bored or something like that. I'm not the kind of person that plays it like 12 hours a day.
How to set a timer, Gavin, or something, so that you make sure that you're not playing too much and forgetting your homework or anything like that?
I actually don't really set timers because it's actually pretty rare now that I play a video game for longer than an hour at once. And lately I just haven't really been that motivated to do that. Like, I'm just having a lot of schoolwork in the way, which I think is better.
Yeah, thank you. And what would you say to someone who maybe does have autism and they don't like to be social, they prefer to play video games, and they do play for 12 hours a day? What would you say to them?
I think I would say something like it's okay to have fun and escape from reality, but eventually you will have to interact with others, as scary as that might seem, and that's okay.
Thank you.
That's a great answer, Gavin. I think we have a hand. You can go ahead and turn off your mic and just ask your question.
Hi, you've reached England, by the way.
Wow, great. Welcome.
Welcome, Gavin. You're famous in England.
Hello.
You're international.
Gavin, just everything's amazing. Everything I've heard has been so comforting. And Kim, just the reassurance as a parent. Like, my son is 12 and we're still trying to get that diagnosis, but he is not he's not accepting the diagnosis. So he's pushing, he masks very well. So it's kind of an ASD and ADHD, more so in the social aspect. He struggles. So my question is really, sorry, I'm on a train. I work on a train. Going off. My question is, like, how I'm struggling to get my son to be okay with himself rather than trying to change to different social groups and pretend to like things that everybody else likes just because that's what everybody else is doing. Like, he loves trains, but he will never go in a room and be like, I love trains. So I'm trying my best to be supportive, but it's quite hard to kind of get him to be himself. So how would you, both of you, Gavin and Kim, how would you suggest that?
This is Ellsworth. This train is the Southern service to.
Well, first of all, I love that technology can bring us together like this. I mean, how amazing, right? That's so great. And it's hard because your son is 12 and just regular teenagers just want to be part of the group, right? They will try to assimilate no matter what. Yeah. And so I think being encouraging to him and understanding that he's difficult place because he's like teen, right? And wanting to be accepted by people around him and still trying to hang on to those things that he actually really likes inside and that, as his mom, is really interesting to him. Be patient with him. Allow him to navigate these waters being a teen is hard to begin with, right? And give him chances to interact, see if he's got friends, have them over, have them try to be where they are, but not get too involved with those relationships, right? But be aware and try to find friends for him or opportunities for him to be social where he can feel like he can be himself. Does that make sense? Yeah. But it's a hard time of life. I know that 12 to 13-year-old age, right? It sounds like he might be a higher functioning on the autism spectrum. Is that right? Yeah. And is he a pretty smart kid in some areas? Like if he likes trains, does he know everything there is to know about trains?
He knows everything about trains, but I wouldn't say academically he struggles a bit.
Yeah.
But once he's locked in on a subject, that's his subject.
Yeah. And he wants to learn everything he can. And so just being encouraging of that and being like, tell me more. What else did you find today? Can be really empowering to him to where he feels like, okay, I can be successful at this. I'm doing this. It's important. My mom sees that it's important to me. Yeah. Gavin would move from subject to subject to subject all the time. Right?
Yeah.
And we would just be like, well, tell us more about what you're learning now.
Yeah. Okay. Gavin, do you have any advice as well?
I can't really think of any.
Excellent. So one piece advice I want to give you, ma'am, is get him evaluated. The diagnosis is empowering. And without having that formal medical diagnosis, it's all speculation, right? So get him a formal evaluation so that you can know if he does have this amazing autism brain. It can be his superpower for sure. And it's going to be much easier today at 11, 12 than it's going to be 13, 14, 15, 16. They get more and more defiant, as they should, because they're seeking independence. All teenagers, that's why these teenage years are hard. So getting them evaluated today as quickly as you can so that you really and truly know if you're dealing with autism or what the behavior is related to.
Yeah, we've been on a wait list for 3 years now. It's very tedious over here. It's a very long process. And as soon as you move from like secondary to primary or middle school to high school, it's like we have to start all over again. And so it's been a long process. And he masks very well for someone who's just seeing him for the first time. So they'll be like, oh, he's fine. It's fine. But
they outsmart themselves, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Well, thank you for joining.
Thank you so much.
Excellent. Thank you for joining. So, as we come to the end of our time together, I have one more question for you, Gavin. What are your plans? I know you just started college. What are your plans upon graduation? What are your dreams, your goals? Do you want to have an amazing computer science job someday, live on your own, have a family, have kids, be the head of your church? What are your goals? What are your dreams?
I haven't really planned that far ahead yet, but I do not think I want children, okay?
No? Okay, you know that for sure. How about any pets?
Maybe. I'm not entirely sure.
Do you see yourself living on your own someday? I mean, you already are, but do you see yourself having your own apartment or house someday?
That depends on if I can get a well-paying job by then.
I love it. You are so smart. You are so smart. Thank you both for joining us. So as we come to the end today, I want to acknowledge that it takes effort to sit with all this new information and to reflect on your amazing child with autism. Today really wasn't about learning everything or having all the answers. It really was about understanding what an amazing person with autism is capable of, understanding that you as a parent, you as a person with autism don't have to walk this journey alone. Your child is the same as when you came into this appointment as when you are leaving. And so the tools we discussed really aren't about perfection. Things are going to be hard, as Gavin and Kim have shared with us today. And I thank you both for being so vulnerable for this webinar today. They're going to be hard, but they're also going to be beautiful, just like with any other child. And so take what you want from today, leave behind what feels kind of heavy. Thank you for coming into this space today. Our mission here at Amazing Kids is to empower parents with teamwork, to ultimately empower amazing people with autism with teamwork. So Thank you, Gavin and Kim, for being an amazing example of how to optimize one's potential. What I've heard from you today is that you have the same worries that any other college student would have. Same worries as a mom, same worries as a college student. So thank you so much for teaching us and showing us the amazing potential of somebody with autism spectrum disorder. There's no limitations, right, Gavin?
Right.
Kim and Gavin, you're now all grown up. You're living your life independently like a 21-year-old should be doing with no limitations. Thank you for your time, and thank you for being a shining example to all. And everybody have a blessed day.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.